Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss any update from Tech Primers.
Hello everyone, let me know if you guys can hear me well. Hi Naman, hi Satish, hi Srini. I think I can hear myself, so let me. Cool, so how are you guys? Hi Naman, how are you? Hi Satish, I'm good Satish, thanks for asking. Hi Srini, hi Naresh, hi Anubhav. Yeah, that used to be my signature AJ. Hey Sunny, hey Anil, hi Sai Kumar, hi Uday. How are you guys doing? It's been a while, so I thought, why not go live? Let me set everything. So I don't have my mic here, so I'm like, I can't make much quality content, but I'm trying to make, but still, the last few videos I made it with my phone. So I used to record my audio separately and then video separately and then merge it. But yeah, it takes a lot of time, so I was busy, so that's why I couldn't make more videos in the last 1 month. So hi Anand, hi Suresh, hi Vishwesh, hi Manoj, hi Ashwini, hi Kunal. I'm good. Thank you, thank you. When to use Kafka and when should you use JMS? That's a very good question, Vishesh. I was thinking of making a video on it. A lot of people, I think you are the one you were asking me, right, in Twitter. You've been reminding me a lot on Kafka versus RabbitMQ. I will give you a gist maybe. So what you can do is when you want to create streaming platforms, for example, if you want to publish some events and you want to consume it from different consumers, let's say you have different systems in your company or maybe in your product where you have multiple microservices and you want to publish a particular metric or maybe some particular event which will be helpful for tracking something or doing something with respect to data analytics or something, then you can use Kafka, where every second or something you track some message and there are huge outflow of messages from these microservices. That's when you can use Kafka. You should go with a JMS when you have, let's say, microservices, inter-services communication, and the volume is not that much compared to what I was just telling earlier, right? So where, let's say in youtube.com, if I move something here, now YouTube can track my mouse activity and they can get some information out of it. So in that case, the message can go to a Kafka kind of a system where it just gets persisted into maybe a big data system and then they can do some data analytics from there. So that's when you can use Kafka. You can use a simple JMS queue when you want to have point-to-point communication within your microservices, and and you don't have to replay your messages, right? So in terms of Kafka, you have a way to replay messages, but in terms of JMS, you may or may not have the way use case to have these messages replayed, right? So that's when you use it. So who else? Hey Ansh, hey Shu, hey Ayush, hi Sai. I'm doing good, Sai. How are you? Hi Kunal. Can you please create a video on how to debug Spring Boot application on external Tomcat? It's almost similar to the one which I made, Kunal, right? So if you see the video I had made on remote debugging, it's almost the same way. So you will have to expose a port and then you will have to debug your application. So it's exactly this particular video which I made 1 year ago, remote debugging using IntelliJ. You just need to expose a JMX port, and then using that port you can connect either your IDE or you can even connect your JVisual VM or JConsole. I think now they have a JMission control, right? You can use any of these to connect to um, your JVM and then see what's happening. If you want to do debugging, then you can use your IDE, right? So that's how you can do it. What are the next trends you see after microservices architecture? Honestly, the thing is, people are talking about microservice architecture, but how are we adopting that with respect to the newer technology changes in terms of cloud, right? So for example, people are talking about serverless and how it can help in terms of cost and in terms of performance and not having to worry about the servers and things like that, right? So I would like to see how microservices architecture fits in that particular landscape, and also with respect to Kubernetes, right? So in terms of how do you containerize it and then how do you push it into the cloud, right? Is Kubernetes the way, or is it cloud specific, for example serverless kind of things which is specific to a cloud compared to a cloud agnostic thing like Kubernetes, right? So that's going to be a thing to look for, right? That's what I can see envisioning. So mostly it is going to be serverless in terms of microservices and yeah, architectures. Make a video on session management in Spring Boot and transaction management in Data JPA. I think I did on transaction management, Soumya, right? So transaction session management, I don't know. I don't think I did it. But yeah, Spring Boot has become a new normal. I see a lot of YouTube channels now creating Spring Boot content, right? So I don't think I need to make any Spring Boot videos now, because I think there are too much content in terms of Spring Boot, and I don't want to what do you call, mess up that existing space, right? So I had created a lot of Spring Boot videos in the last 3 years, so I feel they have a different um, niche. Maybe I started a trend, and that's why people are now making a lot of Spring Boot videos. I think I want to do something different compared to what others are doing. Then there won't be a difference between tech primers and other channels, right? So I'm trying to be innovative and then trying to create something. But yeah, it's just a hobby for me. Tech primers is just a hobby, so I won't be making more videos, or I won't be making videos in the pace with which others are making. But still, you will definitely get quality content out of it. That's the only motive. uh, Hey Kunal, okay, one option is that we can add warrant to, yeah, so Sai is giving one option, Kunal, so you can check that. Sunny is saying, what are the prerequisites to become database administrator? I'm good at MySQL, JDBC, Hibernate. Can I get this profile job in my final year? Please help me with this. So I think you have to revisit the term database administrator. Right now, I feel everybody knows everything. So there is no specific job in terms of knowing only a database and then surviving with only database skill. You can still do, but still, if you look at the landscape with what people are learning and how things are moving towards, I would still say be a end-to-end developer, be a full stack developer. If not full stack, at least get to know what is backend and then get to know database stuff. So that's what I would suggest you, because from your final year you will definitely get a job, and I don't think they will directly place you into a database administrator role, because when you're passing out of college, they know that you don't have any experience, so they will try to place you in a company in a role. That's it. So it could be database, it could be QA, it could be testing. It depends on your luck and your in your enthusiasm, right? I mean, it's up to you and the company's what do you call, gaps in terms of what are the job roles available, right? So it's all luck. And then after that you can switch, right? So you don't have to stick with one. It's up to you. Apurva says, what is the best way to handle millions records in Spring? Yeah, you can batch them. You can use Spring batch using and batch them. Or if you're using what kind of handling million records, in the sense, if you're getting million records, how are you getting them? Either using HTTP or using Kafka or anything like that. Then it depends on your consumption pattern, right? So it could be, if it is HTTP, you can definitely get the request and immediately put it onto a queue, and then don't put it onto a queue because it will be a bottleneck. But then you can parallelly process them when you have thread pools, and then you can define your thread count and things like that, and you can have multiple services running, right? So that way you can load balance them and then split a request across services, right? So if you can be more specific on what type of what do you call, source and destination you're talking about, Apurva, then it could be easy for me to explain. Kesh is asking, do you have any intention to do detailed series on RX Java for Java not Android? Vertex is area is really lacking, almost no proper videos on these. Yeah, so there are a lot of tools like that, but I don't know how many people are really using it, right, Kesha? See, the only thing about RX Java is I saw the documentation was pretty good, and it will be very helpful for people who are doing heavy business computing operations, right? For example, in terms of getting a lot of data, filtering them, or then transforming, or maybe mapping something. It makes sense. Maybe if you give me a use case, I can definitely try. It's been a while since I did a lot of coding as well, so definitely give me a use case. I can definitely try RX Java with that and then show. Thank you. Sarfraz is asking, please include test cases in your examples like React API, Java 8. Please do add a GitHub example in your video. You're amazing. Yeah, in fact, most of my video has the GitHub example. If you don't know where my GitHub address is, you can go to github.com/techprimers. I have around 128 repositories, and I think this is one of the most I would have created anything for free, right? I mean, it's completely whatever I made in the channel. So all the code, whatever you see in the videos, are all available here. So I'm not shied away from sharing it with everyone. So you can definitely go here and then check that, Surfras. Cold start is a big problem with AWS Lambda for Spring Boot. Any workaround? Where do you see Java in the future? That's a very good question, right? So this is why a lot of frameworks like Micronaut and Quarkus are trying to solve the cold start problem, because initially when an application starts, it takes a while to initialize things, load things into memory and stuff like that. And Spring Boot being heavy in terms of um, uh, inversion of control and loading the dependencies, it takes a while for the application to come up, right? So that's where a lot of new frameworks like Micronaut, if you see, they are doing ahead of time compilation, where they are loading all these classes and trying to solve things which you would solve during the startup during the compilation time, right? So that's one way of one workaround which people are trying to solve this cold start problem, so that you can run serverless applications very quickly, right? Though if it is Java, right? If you see my video on Micronaut and Quarkus, I have done the same, but I don't know how much enterprises leverage this, right? So I tried pushing it in my previous firm, but then still you would definitely want to prove it to someone, right, before you generally go and implement it. So I'm looking forward to see how people are using Micronaut or Quarkus in the enterprise world, right? Apart from Red Hat and all these tech companies, I would want to see how others are trying and looking at these frameworks and using it. Could you please make a video on Kafka streams, K-table and aggregations, Naveen Kumar? Yeah, sure. Kafka streams, I think there are a lot of existing videos, Naveen, not in my channel, but then there are a lot of other YouTubers who are sticking to the Spring Boot and the Kafka stream things. But I don't know, if you still think there is something lagging, just ping me in Twitter, right? I'll try to make one. Hey, Abhijit. Srini is asking, as per your knowledge, as per my knowledge, K8s is going to replace Spring Boot in terms of developing microservices architecture. Please give me your comments on that. I wouldn't definitely say that, because Spring is a framework, Kubernetes is an ecosystem where you deploy applications, right? So it will never replace Spring in terms of the adoption, because the Spring Boot is one of the most adopted and widely used microservices framework these days, right? So Kubernetes is a way of deploying things. Even if you look at Spring Boot is already containerized, right? So you are just going to strap up with the Docker image, and then you're just going to deploy the Docker image inside Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is, if you ask me to compare Kubernetes, you can compare Kubernetes with something like ECS or something like that, but still yeah, these two are like not fair comparisons in terms of framework versus deployment architectures, right? So you still need a framework to develop stuff, and you need a runtime, right? So a lot of comments are there. 1 minute. Okay, what is better to use, REST template or web client? Vineet is asking. So REST template, you would go for it when you don't need asynchronous communication, when you want to use synchronous communication. So prior to 2.0 version of Spring Boot, if you had seen most of my videos, I would have used REST template, because that time there was no concept of an asynchronous communication, and most of them never required it. But moving towards a reactive world, we wanted to use asynchronous communication, and that's where web client is going to help you in serving both these cases, right? So that's when you will use web client. So I would say, if you're in the latest Spring Boot with 2+ version, then definitely go for web client. REST template is history. Himanshu is asking, AWS is launching a lot of services which can change the market. What are your thoughts on this? Yep, that AWS is going to disrupt everything in terms of cloud, and it has been disrupting, so it's nothing new. If you ask me, AWS is more mature than any other cloud provider, but still I feel a lot of other cloud providers are catching up, so it will be interesting to see how they all coexist, right? Like right now. So definitely, yeah, AWS is doing good. So I have been trying to learn Azure recently. Prior to that, I have been doing my hands-on in Google Cloud, if you had seen my Kubernetes videos, and then I used to do AWS things as well. So obviously AWS is much more mature, and it is feature rich. I like the developer experience with Google Cloud, Recently, I've been trying Azure, so I don't have any thoughts yet, but I'll share that soon. Please add sync and asynchronous microservices call examples for us. Yeah. So do you think still we need microservices examples, right? I mean, if you look at the landscape, there are tons and tons of documents and articles which are coming up in medium.com about microservices. Do you still think microservices make sense if I make video? Maybe I might get more views in the channel, but is that new? That's the question which I ask every day, because when I try to make a video, I the first thing I ask is it something new? Will people benefit even if they search after 4 years, right? I mean, that's the thing I think of. But if you ask me about microservices, there are tons of examples, tons of use cases, documentation. If you go to microservices.io, you have a lot of examples. If you Google out in the medium, there are tons of people who are making a lot of content and posting it, so you can read about that. Definitely there, I don't think you need me to make one, because there are already things which are already out there, right? So if you search for a Instagram clone, you can get it. If you search for a Facebook clone, you can get it. So if I do it again, I think it would be a duplication, or maybe it would be a plagiarism. So yeah, try it out, sir, first. Manish is saying most underrated tutor on YouTube. So I'm not a tutor. I'm just trying to share my knowledge. I'm just doing YouTube for hobby, and I'm trying to learn as well. So yeah, if you think I'm a good tutor, thanks for that. Hey Satish, Lakshmi is asking, can you make video microservices with Drop Wizard? Okay, Drop Wizard. This is like asking after going to Apple, come back to Android, right? But yeah, I don't know. Drop Wizard is lightweight, and I know about Drop Wizard, but I don't know if I would still make video on microservices with Drop Wizard. I would rather make it with Micronaut and Quarkus, right? With new serverless fields. In fact, even not even specific to frameworks, because all the frameworks are almost similar, right? If you look at Spring Boot, Micronaut and Quarkus are almost similar. I mean, there is no difference in terms of how you will implement stuff and all. There are just minor syntactical sugars which are just changing, right? But yeah, Drop Wizard, I agree, it is not a dependency injection based framework, but yeah, I don't know. My son is asking, where were you, bro? Yeah, I was quarantining, right? Nothing, buddy. I mean, it's been a while. I don't have the mic and things like that, so it takes a while for me to make videos. And also, like, I was just enjoying YouTube, looking at other contents what people are making, right? So that I can be unique. Transaction management across microservices, best way. So yeah, the best way would be obviously make it as event driven. That way you don't have to worry about when your destination service is down, how am I going to retry and things like that. So that way you can get rid of some transaction management bit, right? So otherwise you can across, okay, this is across multiple databases, is it? Okay, multiple databases. You will have to create a framework with one phase commit, two phase commit, three phase commit, however you want to, right? That way, if one of the commit passes in the database and if the other commit fails in the other database, you will have to have a rollback mechanism to go and roll back in the other database as well. So you will have to have a custom way to do that, Ananjay, right? So you cannot directly do it, and there are no existing frameworks which can do it, I believe. Yeah. Hi, Saif. What is the exact difference to host a service to Docker and then register into Kubernetes versus directly hosting a service into a cloud as a app service? Yeah, it depends on the cloud provider, right, Abhijit? So if you go for a Docker, if you create an image, you can use that in any platform, right? Like you said, you can use it in Docker, and then you can use it in Kubernetes, and the Kubernetes cluster could be in any cloud provider, or it could be in on-prem as well. You could have deployed that in an on-prem cluster as well. But if you deploy an app service, the app service is a concept which is created by some specific cloud provider, right? For example, Google has something called Google App Engine, and then that is specific to Google, right? So that's the difference you will get with respect to that, right? And in terms of, if you have the same Docker image deployed as an app service, you might miss some of the features which Kubernetes could bring in. Let's say you're deploying like 10 microservices, and you want to have features like service discovery. Then deploying it as an app service may not make sense, because you will have to deploy your own Eureka server. But in terms of Kubernetes provides you service discovery pattern and the way to discover microservices, right? So that is the difference when you will go for an app service with respect to a cloud provider, right? So if you have an individual service or maybe one or two services, then go for an app service. If you have multiple microservices communicating across services, then go for a Kubernetes cluster. Hi Nathan, when we can see blockchain related contents. Blockchain is like a baby right now, right? If you ask me, it's just evolving, and there is no clear implementation on what is a blockchain looking like. If you ask me, if you had asked me what is cloud 15 years ago, that's what blockchain is right now. That's what I feel, right? I mean, this is my personal opinion. I totally respect everybody else's opinion, but I feel that blockchain is just in a nascent stage right now. The problem is we have too much of data, and we all are already struggling with data, right? If you bring in blockchain, you are going to have duplication of data across different places, and I don't know how are we going to solve a much bigger problem in terms of data, right? So, and then adoption as well. First, we have not even adopted cloud, right? So when I was in college 10 years ago, I did a project on cloud in the final year, right? But still I am trying to onboard applications to cloud now, even after 10 years, right? So that's the state of cloud. You can now relate to blockchain. That's all I can say. That's the reality. Pitchy Reddy is asking, can you please make video on full stack Java developer? I don't think, see, I try to make only technical videos, but if you want to see what is a full stack Java developer, there are a lot of other channels and a lot of other articles you can read about full stack Java developer. If you want an interesting article you want to read about full cycle developers by Netflix. So Netflix has a concept of full cycle developer. Read this particular article, buddy. I can even share this link in the section so that you guys can read about it. So that's how Netflix defines developers, right? So I feel the same way. So you should be knowing end to end, not just coding and then going away. You should know how it works in production as well. How about a series on distributed system design? So there are a lot of YouTubers. I mean, you would have seen Gaurav Sen and others who have already done distributed system design videos. I don't know, it is their thought. If I make something different, it could be slightly different. So I don't know if you still want a system design. Maybe I can do architectural designs and related to that, but I don't know if I would make a series on it though. Nilesh is asking how multi-threading operates and managed in Spring Boot. You can control it, right? So if let's say you are going to create some custom tasks, you can definitely create a thread pool and then you can definitely do it. Or if you don't have anything by default, Spring Boot leverages the default thread pool, which is by what is that framework? I forgot the Tomcat's default thread pool inside Spring Boot, right? Because Spring Boot has the embedded Tomcat, so there is a default thread pool, and that's how the multi-threading is managed right now, right? So, but if you want to have a custom way of handling threads and managing the pool and then managing the resources, you can definitely push them into a queue and then manage them, or maybe a custom framework which can do that, right? Again from a thread pool. But yeah. Shanmugh is asking, hi Jay, after Kubernetes, what is trending technology now? I would say serverless is the trending thing, and yeah, machine learning is also going parallelly, but I don't know if I will do machine learning, but it's good to know. I've been knowing about machine learning. I wouldn't say I know machine learning, but I've been understanding machine learning because there are too many things. These are the topics which we used to skip in college, right? So that's what machine learning is all about, and there are too many things in terms of data science, data scientist, data engineer, and things like that. So it takes a while for us to understand. So yeah, after Kubernetes it's serverless, I would say, and then machine learning if you are bored of serverless and still want more. Hi Manoj. Manoj is asking, moving towards developing microservices using serverless computing. Okay, if that is the case, then does the wake up time will not be an issue? Yeah, like I said earlier, right, Manoj. So there are a lot of new frameworks which are coming in. If you look at Spring Boot, when I started learning Spring Boot, or when I started developing or making videos in Spring Boot, nobody was looking at it. Right now, after 3 years, people are wanting still to be looking at Spring Boot. Right, so now I'm bored of Spring Boot. So that's what is happening with the serverless ecosystem as well. Right, so things are improving a lot. Things are changing a lot. A lot of new frameworks are coming in, and then changing the way we start up, changing the way we create applications on the cloud. Right, so I would definitely think serverless is going to change a lot, but I wouldn't say serverless is for everyone, but it's for a lot of use cases, because most of the time we just keep our services idle. Right, that's where the biggest cost effectiveness comes in terms of serverless computing. Can you make video on Apache Beam? I have heard about that. I forgot what was it for. Okay, this is the data flow, right? So I've not started anything on the data flow, Venkatesh, right? So what is Apache Unified? Okay, it's a batch processing and streaming data. There are too many batch processing and too many streaming platforms, right? I mean, in terms of the latest Flink and all others, and Spring even has one called Spring Cloud Data Flow. So I'm like confused in that data space. I generally don't go at that side at all. That's the honest thing. Best way to stream data in real time to multiple users, obviously you can definitely use WebSockets if it is just web, in terms of UI, right? Or if it is a mobile application, you can definitely use the latest the cloud notification stuff which they have. But I don't know what kind of destination system are you looking at, Ashish? Vivek is asking, hi Vivek, still you don't create video on CQRS design pattern? Yeah, I know, it's been, I'm waiting since last year. Like I said, right, Vivek, I mean, it takes a long time to create one and then think of a use case and create. But if you look at, if you want to quickly understand what is CQRS, you can definitely go to microservices.io, and you can definitely go to the CQRS pattern. It's nothing complicated, right? So the only thing is, if I make a video on CQRS design pattern, the next thing people will ask is, show me the code, right? So that's the reason I'm not making a video, because it will become a theoretical explanation without a practical example, right? Which is, again, I also don't like it without a practical example, because it will be difficult for, or hard for you to understand and then relate it, right? So this is more than enough if you go to microservices.io, CQRS, and then learn about CQRS. If you're really using it in your office and work, definitely you can maybe create a blog post and then share it with me. I can share it with others, so people can leverage that. Amit is saying it is good if you make video on system design architecture. So yeah, I mean, I've been trying off, right? I mean, if you look at it, the videos are a mixture of hands-on architecture, cloud, everything, right? It's not just, if you look at it, there is a video on architecture pattern. Every now and then I'm just trying to make it what you call interactive, I mean, not interactive, mix. It's a mixture, right? I mean, if you look at it, it's a mixture. I don't want to just make only Java, or just make only architecture, or just make only on cloud, right? So obviously you also will get bored. So that's the reason I'm just mixing and matching it, right? So yeah. Oh, where did I miss it? Shit. Okay, any alternative option for AWS? You can definitely try Azure. That's the only option right now, I mean, in terms of competitiveness. But yeah, Google Cloud is catching up as well. WebSocket, I do have, Himanshu. I mean, if you look at it, there are WebSocket videos. I think I made 2 of them. Yeah, these 2, you can use them. One is about the WebSockets, the other one is implementing WebSockets in Spring Boot. Guys, I have never used that framework. What is it for? Google. Okay, this is lightweight dependency injection framework for Java 6 and above. Okay, this is exactly like Spring Boot, I think. Okay, I can definitely check that, Himanshu. What are the upcoming trending technology? Like I said, serverless is one. Mostly it's all in the cloud space. Service mesh is one. So that is something. If you're on Kubernetes, or if you're on container-based system, then definitely service mesh is something new which is just coming in. I'm trying to make a video on Istio next, right? So I had made a video on Istio architecture last month, but I did not do the hands-on example. So I'm trying to see how we can do Istio on Azure with the latest version. What could be the best way to implement two-factor, 2FA is two-factor authentication, right? Okay, for a project which is using Spring and Spring Security but not using Spring Boot. Okay, what is the best way? There is no best way as such. In Spring Security, you have definitely filters. You can definitely create filters and then have those implemented there, right? So every time a request comes in, your Spring Security should be interrupted and then had that. So if you have a framework, like for example you are running this on a Tomcat, then definitely obviously you will have a control and you will have a hook into the servlet where your Spring Security can authenticate your application, right? So there you will have to control using filters and then override your authentication provider and things like that. You will have to customly write that in Spring Security. Even with Spring Boot you will have to do it, but yeah, Spring Boot provides a lot of flexibility and in terms of giving features, but yeah, you have to write that in the Spring Security layer Anil. Okay, what is the, okay, I skipped, sorry Ram. What is the most preferred search functionality in Spring Boot? More preferred search functionality in the sense, what kind of search are you using? I mean, I have used Spring Data Elastic, right? That was pretty good. They had a wrapper around the Spring Data, Spring Elastic, and then we can run that. If you have a UI for search, then you can use that. You can use Solar as well, or you can use the Redis if it is only key value based. Yeah, all these are like good options, but yeah, it depends on the kind of feature you're giving, right? There is something called Aerospike as well. I think I made a video on Aerospike. Flipkart uses Aerospike. I don't know if they are still using Aerospike, but for their UI search they have a Aerospike cache, right? So check them. So sir, after listening to your opinion, I have decided to become a full stack developer starting with Spring. What are the prerequisites to get started? And thank you very much for the help. Yeah, I mean, actually I generally don't create a course because I'm not a, like I said, I'm not a tutor. I just create videos. I just started creating videos as a hobby, right? But then after a period of time, when I looked back, I had made a lot of videos, right? I mean, a lot of videos. So that's when I created this learning path for Spring Boot and microservices, right? This summarizes each and every video I had made on Spring Boot and how other concepts are related in terms of Spring Boot. For example, load balancing, fault tolerance, all these are different architectural things which you can learn along with Spring Boot and learning microservices. If you just do this, if you just learn whatever I have done here, you can become my boss, right? So it's that much information. So definitely take a look at this, Sunny. Right, and obviously you can look at other YouTubers and then see because sometimes you might not understand my slang, the way I teach. You can definitely check for others. Handling millions of records in Spring Boot from Cassandra DB or any database and show that in the UI. Yeah, so you can so yeah, you will have to have a partition, right? So obviously if you are retrieving it and then showing, then you will have to get it partitioned, or in the UI you will have to have pagination or some kind of a feature, because you cannot push million records in the UI, right? The system is not going to handle it. The UI is not going to be steady in terms of pushing million records. You can handle that in the backend, but then the UI is going to fail. So you will have to have an event driven way, or if you look at Facebook, right? Facebook feed doesn't get loaded until you scroll your page, right? Like this. So you can definitely do a reactive based call, something like that. In that case, Apurva. Please add a video which includes adding a repository from scratch from local Eclipse to GitHub repository. I think there are videos, Surfras, right? I mean, these are basic things. I started Tech Primers because I wanted to learn something and I wanted to create something niche in which people are struggling to learn, right? That was the idea. But these are basic things you can definitely Google out. You can definitely go to YouTube and then search Surfras. What are the use cases for Varnish Cache? I've never heard of Varnish Cache. Is there? Okay. Varnish is a HTTP cache. Okay. Ankit, I have never heard, honestly. I will have to check. Maybe in the next live I can answer that. I don't know. I have to look at it. But thanks for that. I have made a note. I'll definitely read about it in the weekend. Hi Himanshu. Any video on Ethereum in the future? Like I said, I mean, I just want to see how blockchain is evolving. I'm okay if I don't learn blockchain early in the stage, but still I don't think it will be helpful for me or anybody in the work, right? If you create a startup, maybe it will be helpful for you, but I don't know. I don't have any plans. Gangi Shetty is asking, is there a way to make a method having return type as async? Make a method having, yeah, you can do that with Spring, right? You can create a REST endpoint and then um, uh, have a response which is a streaming response, right? So you can definitely do that with, check the latest Spring Boot with Flux, right? So that does that. Can you make video on WebSocket in Spring Boot? It is already there, Abhinash. I was just talking about it, or I was showing about it, about that. So there is one which I made 1 year ago, I think 2 years ago. Okay, I forgot. So WebSockets using Spring Boot. Take a look at this, Abhinash. You can go to the channel, search there for WebSocket. You will get it. Srinivas, hey Srini, how are you? I'm good. How are you, man? We can do one more video call. Chaitanya, please continue your tutorials on DevOps. Sure, definitely, Chaitanya. It's a mixture of DevOps and Dev, right? So it's a full stack for full cycle, like how Netflix calls it. Databricks, Spark, and Thoughts. Yeah, I mean there are new frameworks now with respect to Spark. There is a Flink now, so things evolve, right? So I don't know. I'm not keen in looking at what's happening with Databricks, right? So I don't know, buddy, what's happening there. Can we expect some in detail video on Terraform on AWS? Thanks for all your videos, Rajshekhar. So Terraform, I don't know if I will do it. I tried to do Pulumi, right? So this one. So I tried creating stuff and things like that. It was good. I was writing code in TypeScript, and then you can create infrastructure, for example, DynamoDB or S3 bucket and things like that. Same with respect to Azure and Google Cloud, right? So I was trying that, but then I don't know how much I will use it. It was good. I mean, honestly, I felt Pulumi better. With respect to Terraform, I will have to learn a new DSL, new language. That was the only thing, and Pulumi was easy and it was free, so I could use it. Terraform, I don't know, I've never tried it. Right, so that was the only reason I did not try Terraform. I felt Pulumi was much flexible in terms of because I could still stick to my language and I can write it in my own language, right? Whichever I'm coding with. So I don't know if I will make Terraform videos. I think in YouTube there are already a lot of Terraform videos, right? So definitely check for them as well. Atul is asking, if I want to build a prod level application from scratch, what components are required? Example, monitoring, best practices, technology to implement those. That's a very good question, actually. Yeah, obviously, if you look at whatever videos I made, it's all those, right? So in terms of if you see this learning path, it covers all of them. So in terms of load balancing, resiliency, fault tolerance, architecture patterns, observability, chaos engineering, service mesh, and I mean everything, I have covered almost everything in this dude. Security. In fact, I have made videos on all vulnerability tools. I mean, if you had been following my channel, there are 300 videos in the channel which I've been making for the last more than 3 years, right? Almost 4 years now. So if you had been following and if you had been doing everything whatever I did in Tech Primers, I mean you'll be a master now. I guess there is a video on API Pothi channel. Yeah, could be. Could you please create more videos on microservices design? Like, yeah, so I will try to make, but yeah, like I said, Vishesh, right? I mean, the only thing is time is the only constraint, because the moment I make a video, people would want to see the code, right? And I don't want people to get disappointed if I don't show the code. But yeah, can you please explain about DMAP and how it is different from Kafka? I've never used DMAP. DMAP is a premium platform for high performing and cost efficient data movement service. Okay, this is specific to data movement as a platform. I think Kafka is just a streaming platform. This is data movement platform. Obviously it has some things which are in parallel, but I would say it will never be the same, right? So from what I see, you can do data filtering. Okay, so this is basically in terms of the ML, right? Most of the time people use DMAP for data cleansing, data filtering, and then data processing, right? So that's what it's all about. So you can get the data directly from the data source, which could be your database, and then you can do processing on it. Kafka is a way in which you can push messages and then stream stuff and then process them out of it, right? You're not going to keep things in Kafka forever, but yeah, these are taking the data from the data source and then processing it and then pushing it out into data lakes, like if you see that, right? So they are totally different products, Ashok. I want to share my experience here. I've learned microservice architecture from your videos, and then I got a couple of job openings. Finally, I settled in the market, and I want to say a big thank you very much, Srinivas. Yep, if you yeah, that's what keeps me motivated, and yeah, thank you. What's your thought on data science as a developer? I don't know, so I cannot comment on it. I've seen, like I said, I'm trying to learn what is happening there. Unless or until you get an opportunity to work on something like that, it's very difficult to tell, because it's a completely new stream and different stream compared to a developing developers thing. But data science is a you cannot directly relate it. But yeah, I cannot comment on it right now because I have not learned anything on the data space. Right, I know a little bit of stuff, but not much. Vijay is asking, do you see that company can go permanently work from home? I'm just waiting for this permanently work from home option, right? So in India, there are there are no options. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to tell too many things, but the government has to change a lot of policies in terms of the permanent work from home option, so that all companies can allow that, right? So right now, there are not much flexibility, and that's why if you see, the government is keep on postponing the work from home policy right now, right? So the policies needs to be changed, so we cannot do much about that. Hi Abdul Malik. Hi Aman. How can we support your work? I don't see join button. Yeah, I don't need money, buddy. It's like that's fine. I mean, the you can support the channel by either sharing the channel or maybe sharing the knowledge. That is more than enough, right? See, I'm not doing it as a full-time job or whatever yet, right? So I don't need people to give money or support the channel, right? So it's fine, right? I mean, just share the work and then share your knowledge. That is more than enough. Abdul Malik is saying, can you give any source for Spring Security JWT user authentication? Yeah, there are actually there are links which I would have had in my videos, I think, Abdul. So if you search for Spring Security, I have like tons of video on them, and you can definitely look for those resources in the description. So you see, these are the videos which are there for Spring Security in the channel, right? Definitely walk through that. Okay, yes, okay, cool jaga. Right, with me for okay, KS is asking for series on RX Java. Okay, use case is central system for handling. Okay, I will make a note. Definitely, sure, Kesh. I can definitely try that, Kesh. I will make a note. Thank you. Why don't you do video on APG? Yeah, APG, I've never, I don't know if they provide a free, yeah, I think they provide a free one. Earlier, I had tried APG before they were outside Google, but after Google acquired, I did not get an opportunity to try it out. Yeah, there is a try for free option. Yeah, I can definitely try. I'll try definitely, Jaga. Ramakrishna is saying, bro, any plan doing a series on ESB framework like Mule? No, Ramakrishna. I mean, I don't know if people are still using Mule. There are a lot of companies which are using Mule, but I don't know. I'm not interested in Mule yet right now, because I think there are a lot of too many frameworks, and then like I was saying, Micronaut and Quarkus, Spring Boot. There are too many things which are more flexible than Mule. I have worked with Mule, right? It is a very good ESB, but I don't know if we need Mule kind of a thing right now, right? I mean, it's I the only struggle I had with Mule was testing was so difficult, right? I mean, it was not easy to test the application like how we used to do it with Spring Boot or other frameworks, right? That was the honest thing. What are your insights about chaos engineering? Yep, I have done a video on chaos engineering with Spring Boot. If you're not looked at it, definitely you should look at it. I mean, that is Netflix has created a job called chaos engineer, so definitely, obviously, it is required, and a lot of companies are doing it. So it's not like nobody's doing it. A lot of companies are trying to do it now. So definitely go for it. I mean, you can definitely check these two videos. I've showed you how you can do it. It's an interesting one. Satish can, okay. Please tell what's sidecar with an example. Okay, so sidecar is basically, let's say you are running an application, right? You're written that in Java, okay, and you have one more microservice which you have written it in Node.js. Now you have two different tech stacks. You will have to implement authentication. You will have to implement logging. You will have to implement metrics. and you will have to implement a lot of other things, right? I mean, which is common across these two, right? Authentication, etc., authentication, authorization, everything, right? Now, if you are writing it in Java, then you will have to again rewrite the same thing in JavaScript in Node.js, right? So now with containerized application, it is easy for you to deploy another container, basically another Java process, or maybe whatever language it could be in. That process can do whatever you wanted to be done, which is common, and it can intercept or proxy all your requests coming into your Java process. For example, there is a common process, or there is a process which is sitting along with your Java process. Any request which comes into your process first goes through that particular sidecar process, and that guy takes care of authentication, authorization, logging, monitoring, everything, and then it comes to your Java process. That way you can create polyglot microservices. You could create Java, Node.js, or Python microservices, and you don't have to worry about writing or authenticating things in Python and Java specific languages, right? You will have the sidecar which takes care of all these activities by itself, and this is going to be deployed together, right, along with it, and that's why it is called as a sidecar, right? So that's a small gist. If you see my videos on service meshes, I would have explained about that, what is a sidecar and things like that. If you look at my videos on service mesh, I would have cleanly explained with an example. You can definitely see these series. Please make video on advanced Java JVM performance tuning. Okay, sure, definitely I'll try, Himanshu. Best practices for API development. I think I made one. Basics. I made one, but I don't know if it is enough for you, right, Satish? Maybe check that. 2 years ago, I have done something. This particular video. SSO Keycloak integration with Spring Boot apps. Yeah, a lot of people have been asking for Keycloak every single time when I come for live, but I never got the time. Like I said, yeah. Nandu is saying, can you please do DevOps videos? Yeah, it's a mixture, Nandu. Like I said, some you will have cloud specific, some you will have code specific. So it's a mixture, right? So yeah, I'll definitely try, but not in depth on Ansible and things like that. But yeah, whatever interests me, I definitely try. Pawan is asking how to make secure API. What things need to take? Okay, this is like interview questions, right? I mean, like everybody is posting in so many questions which you guys got in interview, or I don't know, right? See, all these answers are available in the internet, right? I mean, I wouldn't. It's very difficult to explain, and then I mean, already I don't know how long the video has been going, but how long the I don't know. It doesn't show as well how long I've been like. I think maybe 45 minutes. But yeah, see, Pavan, you can definitely Google these things, right? I mean, these are classic things which you will have to definitely Google things, or just ping me in LinkedIn or Twitter. I'll tell you. I mean, it's a huge thing. But you skipped my question. Oh shit, is it? Where is it? Oh, yeah, man. Sorry. What should we keep in mind to improve the performance in a microservice architecture apart from the coding bottlenecks? Yeah, so the things are, I have beautifully summarized here, right? There are a lot of things. One is your resiliency. What happens when your microservice goes down? How is your process resilient? The next one is fault tolerance, right? What happens if the destination microservice goes down? How tolerant is your service if something else goes down? And then can we immediately monitor it using observability tools, and can we capture these beforehand using tools like chaos engineering and things like that? So if you look at these videos, I mean, those are the things. Issue, sorry, I missed that. I generally don't, I try not to skip the question, but then I missed it, I don't know, somehow. But yeah. Hey, please tell us about the Spring Data Elasticsearch versus Elasticsearch native Java API. So the only difference is Spring Data Elasticsearch, you can run your Elasticsearch as an in-memory server, right, within the same Spring Boot application. With respect to native Elasticsearch, you will have to connect to a destination Elasticsearch cluster to connect and access. It's just like you said, it's an API, right? And Spring Data Elasticsearch also has APIs, but it is hosted within the same application, right? So that's when you use Spring Data Elasticsearch mostly. One issue I have seen is earlier, like I don't know if it exists now, but the version of the native API and the version of Spring Boot or the Spring Data Elasticsearch where inconsistent earlier, but I don't know if that issue is solved now. But yeah, I think I answered your question issue. Devikiran asking, can you do a video on Java fibers? I think you asked last time. That was what a Java fiber. Okay, I can check that, buddy. I have never heard of it earlier. Thank you for that, Devikiran. Microsoft. Okay, thank you very much, Surya. Nandu is asking, where can I get Jenkins REST API documentation? You can definitely get it from Jenkins CloudBees site. CloudBees is the company which has Jenkins now, so you can get API documentation. Yep. So just search for CloudBees. See, this is the one. You just search for CloudBees Jenkins API documentation, and you have it here. The pipeline REST API. I have used some APIs. It's pretty good. Sir, I struggle with Spring Security. Like there is a lot of code, and it's very difficult to remember that stuff. Yeah, you cannot remember everything, right? Because I mean, we are not 1 terabyte hard disk, right? To remember each and everything, and then we have a backup and things like that. So we also have stipulated amount of memory in the brain. So obviously there are some things which you can remember. Some things you will have to go to the documentation. Nobody is expecting you to remember everything these days, right? So I think it should be okay. And with every version things are changing a lot, right? Final tech premise is like I feel alive once again. Thank you very much, Adil. Yeah, even I feel alive once again, hearing some new terms, right? Okay. Hey Krishna, what is the best way to call from one microservice to another microservice in Spring Boot? The best way or the easiest way to call is using REST API. You just call using REST template or web client, and then call the other microservice. That's one of the easiest ways. If you want to have a reactive based communication, you can have queues, JMS topics and things like that. It's up to you. Kesh is asking, when in Maven, when do we build? How to choose that a build should be final release version or just a snapshot version, both being deployed? Okay, so it's okay. So when do we build? So we build it whenever we commit things onto our repository, right? For example, if you're using GitHub has a inbuilt CI/CD CI tool called GitHub Actions. So using GitHub Actions, you can just configure it saying, okay, after I commit onto a specific branch or a specific, maybe every branch, just do these commands. So you can define what commands you can run, right? So that's when you can do a build. When do you choose to build a final version? That's up to you. That's when you define your branching strategy, right? If you're using Git, you will have master, you will have develop branch, you will have feature branches. Now you can choose which branch to have these releases based on, right? There are different strategies. There is one nice strategy which I used to follow, branching strategy, Git branching strategy. When I started learning Git, right? So there is a good strategy. I forgot the name of the guy, right? So he created one of the earliest Git branching strategies, right? So you can definitely follow that. I think this is the one. This one. Yep, this is the one by Vincent Reason. So a successful Git branching strategy. If you're following branching strategies, then based on the branches, so it's completely explained here. Based on the branches, you can have what versions to be created from what branch, and you can choose where to deploy what. In Kafka, when a producer sends header values, can a consumer get those header values? Don't see such options. I think now you have a way to do that, right? So in the header, for example, you can even send the schema definition as in the header. In the latest version of Kafka, you can do that. I mean, I have seen people doing it. What can be you shouldn't put it in the payload though, right? If you put it in the payload, you won't be able to read it beforehand. But yeah, what can be the path towards full stack cloud developer? Obviously learning, Kunal, right? I mean, we have spoken earlier as well. So the only thing is getting to know what's happening in the what in your end-to-end cycle, right? So if you're, let's say, developing something which is specific to you as a developer, like for example, you're just asked to just code something, but you're not asked to deploy it, or you don't have a reason to just go and check the deployment. Have a look at how things are deployed, have a look at how things are getting deployed, how after deployment what happens, and how are you getting monitored, how people react to things when something goes wrong in production and things like that. So if you get an end-to-end picture, you will definitely become a full stack cloud developer. right? So like I used to say, the full cycle developer, like what Netflix calls. If you're I think you joined now in the stream, right, Kunal? I mean, check the link here, Netflix link which I shared. All right, so that or just search for Netflix full cycle developer, right? They have explained what they call it, call themselves as a full cycle developer. So that's a thing, right? You should get an end-to-end picture and also try to experiment on your own time, like how you are doing now, right? Like how you're doing things in GitHub. Now concentrate more on your cloud journey, right? I mean, learn one cloud provider first, and then try to compare the cloud provider with other things. So that way you will have a good picture of how things are in terms of cloud, and then you will get a full end-to-end picture of how you will deploy things into the cloud and things like that. What are your thoughts on video streaming technologies? Obviously without YouTube, Tech Primers is not there. So Himanshu, right? So obviously video streaming technologies are good, that's what I would say, but still it is pretty good. I Every day I use Netflix, Amazon Prime, or Hotstar. I mean, it's and YouTube, right? I mean, it's become a part of our life now, honestly, right? I mean, especially in this times, without video streaming we are not we are not there, right? So definitely, obviously, it is going to be there. How to crack CKD? I have a article, Sanjay, right? Just search for yeah, go to medium.com/tech primers, and you should find that. I have created an article on my take on how to prepare, how I prepared, and how you can look at CKD, right? How you can see, this is the article. Just go to medium.com/tech primers. You should be able to see this Kubernetes certification, my take on. So that's how I did. I've just shared my perspective and how I prepared, and I have given some references that should help you. Ariful says, thank you for your answer. What will you choose for your search engine for millions of data? Spring Data Elasticsearch or Elasticsearch? Obviously, it will be Elasticsearch, because Spring Data Elasticsearch is an in-memory version, right? So you cannot do that much, and then if something crashes, it will start from scratch, and then you will have to save the data. So I would rather store it in an Elasticsearch native instance rather than having it in Spring Data Elastic. Yeah. How much you recommend domain-driven design pattern? It's not about recommending, Surya, right? I mean, a lot of people use it, but not, a lot of people don't use it, right? It depends on the companies these days, and the what do you call, the budgeting and the time period or the time frame you have to develop things most of the time, right? Not many people do domain-driven design and then do microservices, but yeah, it's like I try to do it most of the time, but I don't know. That's the honest thing. It all depends on it's a trade-off, right? If you have time, you can do it. Yes. Hi Dupati, I don't know, my name is Ajay Kishore. Srinivas is asking, can you do use case of Spring Boot REST for Scala pipeline integration? Most of the calls getting about this requirements. Okay, Scala, still people are using it, is it? Okay, I don't know. Fine, I can try. And finally, thank you, Ajay. Because of you, I developed interest in DevOps, and I'm a fanboy of AWS. Awesome. Thank you very much, Himanshu. Thanks for joining the stream today. Okay, she's saying a couple of the considerations for future videos. Jaeger, yeah, Jaeger, I have it in pipeline case. Right, Prometheus integration. Yeah, I have that in pipeline. Spring Boot. I tried Jaeger, but I failed. It was not working, so I left it. I got demotivated. I mean, I spent so much amount of time in creating something, and then it doesn't work, so I couldn't show it in the video. But yeah, there are a lot of videos like that. That's why you don't see sometimes videos from me, because I would have failed sometimes. So yeah. Okay. Abhishek is asking, Spring Boot example with Elasticsearch and search with mistyped words. Does it have an API? Also, when we use the Elasticsearch, do we need to use another DB to store Elasticsearch or Elasticsearch? Yeah, so Elasticsearch can manage it, right? But let's say if you want to load data from another data source into Elasticsearch, you can do that, right? And you can create a custom way as well. If let's say you have a legacy database, you want to have only a specific table or fields, you can just write a custom script to inject that, maybe once in a day or once in a while. But yeah, you can definitely do that. And yeah, internally there are APIs exposed by Elasticsearch. You can use it to query, right? For like the mistyped words sometimes won't work directly, because you will have to understand what are the mistyped words, and then you will have to have an intelligent recommendation system which can recommend mistyped words. Elasticsearch will not help you in that case. To some extent, you can do a pattern search, but then pattern search won't work every time, right? So even if you type a correct word, then there will be more records which will show up. So you will have to have a custom way to do that, Abhishek. MDMP created in Windows on microservices project. Why is it creating dump file contains 2 GB nearly? MDMP, what is the technology, Nandu? MDMP file, Linux, how to install MDMP and send dump files are creating. Which technology is it? I don't know. I've never heard of MDMP files. Python, is it? Or something about multi-tenant databases. Multi-tenant databases are basically a database where multiple teams or multiple customers use the data. For example, AWS, I think Aurora maybe, or DynamoDB. It could be, I don't know, multiple. I don't know how they manage it, but yeah, a classic example could be a database as a service, right? So that's an example of a multi-tenant database where multiple customers use the same database ecosystem. I always has a confusion. Akamai, Zookeeper, Zoo, load balancer, server side. How will these team work if you host your microservices to different host servers? I think we will stop the stream in the next 5 minutes. Okay, right? So this is the last. So, okay. So yeah, this could be a big answer, Surya, but yeah, I can answer it. So Akamai is basically DNS, content delivery network, right? So content delivery network in the sense they can cache your data which could be closer to your geographical location. For example, I have my microservices for UI, let's say, right? I have a UI which has a lot of images and those are in US, right? But I have customers who are in India, but I want to have the images to be loaded faster. Then I can use Akamai to have my content delivery network. Zookeeper is similar to what do you call a service discovery framework, or Zookeeper can do both load balancing as well, right? Like what the server side load balancing does, but still it can also do service discovery and it can route your traffic to different services based on the load, right? So that's what Zookeeper is. Zool is basically a proxy. It will just get your request and then route it to a different service, right? That's what Zool is all about, right? And load balancer, I said you can just have multiple services underneath and you can distribute traffic across multiple microservices, and that's what is server side load balancing. Yeah. How these will work if you host? Yeah, that's the same thing. In cloud providers, you will have to leverage existing cloud capabilities. If you are on AWS, you will have to leverage AWS's load balancer, AWS's routing systems to some extent, but still you can use Akamai above AWS, right? So because Akamai is a content delivery network. So yeah. Thank you, Ariful. Thank you very much. Make a video on Docker Swarm as well. Docker Swarm is history, isn't it, Sanjay? I don't know. I mean, everybody's using Kubernetes. I see less people using Docker Swarm. That's the only thing. So hi Raj, how are you? I'm good, man. Thanks for your answer. Thank you, Kunal. Have you tried Rancher for Kubernetes? I wanted to try, but I have not tried. I wanted to try the K3s. I already have Minikube in my laptop, so I did not do the K3s. But yeah, if they provide anything free on their server, I can try. But I don't think they are providing anything free. They just give the open source distribution where I can deploy it in some cloud provider or something. But yeah, I've never heard those information, Sanjay. Right now I'm in one company. I mean, you never know. But yeah, it's going on good. Nandu and dump files creating in Java project. Okay, I have never heard about that, Nandu. I'm not sure. Can you please make a video on OpenShift? There is a video on OpenShift, Rama. Right, you can search for that. But yeah, I'm going to end the stream in 5 minutes so that it's not too long. I'm also like tired now. Oh, in Minikube you can use. Okay, Raj, I will try. Okay, so can you do full stack microservices using Spring Boot, Jenkins, Git, AWS project? Nikhil, all these are like, most of the videos are available individually. If you just merge them, you're done, right? So I don't think it's it's that difficult, but yeah. Was wondering this afternoon as why there wasn't a video on your channel in the month. Thought you were busy in your new job. Yeah, nice to see you, Jana. Thanks for your order. Yeah, thank you very much, Murli. Thanks for your message. Thanks for joining the stream. I think you guys enjoyed. I think it should be okay now. I don't know how many people joined. I didn't even check how many people joined. Right now it shows 41 people, but yeah, good. I hope it was useful for you guys. Let me know. I mean, let me know in Twitter or LinkedIn, right? I mean, what next you want to see, right? I mean, it's very confusing because I also am confused in learning anything new because there are too many things to learn and I don't know which one to concentrate on. So let me know your thoughts. Maybe if it is good, then we can try. So what is the future plan in the channel? Yeah, that's what I don't know, Nikhil. I mean, it's like very confusing, but I definitely I'll surprise you, right? I mean, it's not like I won't make or something, but I will definitely make videos. But I thought, yeah, it should be interesting as well. I'm right now. What's happening is a lot of people are making videos in YouTube as well. So I don't want to do the same kind of videos, right? So I'm trying to see, and then come up with a new thing. Then I have to think of an idea, then put it in a PPT presentation or whatever. If it is coding, then I have to try out. Most of the time, I try and then fail. That's why it takes a while. But yeah, mm. Cool. You will see something new. So definitely wait for it. Okay. Cool. Thank you very much, guys. I hope it was useful. We will meet again maybe next month or maybe after that, depending on how we progress. Okay. Cool. Be safe, and then let's hope that we will go back to work soon. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for joining.